Helen was 72 when she decided to do something about the little pouch around her waist. It wasn't just vanity. She felt heavy getting out of bed, noticed her clothes tightening, and worst of all, she caught her reflection one day and barely recognized the woman staring back. That's when she joined a local gym. The instructor told her the elliptical was low impact and perfect for seniors. It felt smooth, painless even, so she did it 5 days a week. 2 months later, Helen could barely kneel to reach the bottom cabinet in her kitchen. Her knees throbbed at night. And when she finally went to her doctor, the news was confusing. Your joints are inflamed. You're wearing down the cartilage. But how could that be? She was doing everything right. Here's what no one told her. Not all movement is helpful after 65. In fact, some gentle exercises are silently harmful when they don't consider how aging changes the body's mechanics. After 65, your muscles don't just shrink, they become slower to repair, more prone to imbalance, and more dependent on full-body engagement. When you isolate parts of your body repetitively, like gliding your legs back and forth on a machine, you create wear without true strength. It feels productive, but it's incomplete. And that's the danger. Many older adults approach exercise with discipline, but without guidance. They pick routines that seem safe, seated bikes, long elliptical sessions, endless walking on flat surfaces. But they're often missing the two things the aging body needs most: variable resistance and muscular recruitment, meaning exercises that force your body to stabilize, to activate dormant muscles, and to learn how to bear your weight again. Helen thought she was being proactive, but what she didn't realize is that losing weight after 65 isn't about burning calories. It's about protecting the body that will carry you through the next decade. Strength isn't optional. It's foundational. And when her knees started giving up on her, she began to question everything. Was this just aging? Had she waited too long? Would she have to stop moving altogether? The answer, thankfully, is no. But the solution doesn't begin with trying harder. It begins with understanding why her efforts, and possibly yours, may be doing more harm than good. Helen isn't alone. Thousands of older adults are unintentionally weakening their bodies in the name of health. And what's worse, they blame themselves when they don't see results. They think they're lazy, that they lack discipline, when in reality, they were simply misled. You can still lose weight. You can still move freely, but only if the path you choose builds strength instead of stealing it. Let's look closer. At first glance, walking seems like the safest, most natural way to stay active after 65. Doctors recommend it. Friends do it. You feel productive, light, in control. That's why many older adults turn to the treadmill. It's stable, it's predictable, and it promises calorie burn without the fear of falling. But what if that very predictability is part of the problem? When you walk outdoors, your body constantly adjusts to cracks in the sidewalk, to slight inclines, to sudden gusts of wind. Each step requires balance, reaction, and coordination. Your hips stabilize, your ankles adapt, your back works to stay upright. This unpredictability is not just safe, it's vital. Now compare that to the treadmill. The belt moves for you. It creates an artificial sense of motion. Your feet don't push against the ground the same way. Your stabilizer muscles, especially around the hips and knees, slowly stop engaging. Over time, your body forgets how to react to real-world changes. The muscles that keep you from falling stop firing as often. And while you may feel like you're doing something good for yourself, you're quietly becoming less steady. This is how strength loss sneaks in. Not all at once, but little by little. You may start hesitating before stepping off a curb. You may grab onto chairs more often when sitting down. Or worse, you may not notice anything until the day you stumble, and your body no longer remembers how to catch itself. The tragedy? You might have been walking daily. What's more, this illusion of safety on the treadmill can make older adults push longer than they should. You feel good, until suddenly you don't. Your joints ache that night. Your feet feel tender. Your lower back starts protesting. And instead of walking away stronger, you walk away inflamed, tired, and unsure why. It's not that walking is bad, but the context matters. The surface matters. The way your body interacts with gravity and unpredictability matters far more than the step count. For those over 65, walking should still be part of life, but it needs to be real walking, where the world gives you small, healthy challenges. Uneven pavement, small hills, stops and starts. That's how your brain and muscles stay connected. That's how strength is maintained. Because the point isn't just movement, it's meaningful movement, the kind that prepares you for life's surprises, not shields you from them. Margaret always loved the water. After her hip surgery at 68, she was told to avoid anything that might stress her joints. So when a friend invited her to a water aerobics class, she felt hopeful. It was lively, safe, and filled with people her age. The music played, they laughed, they moved, and yet, a strange thing happened. Months passed, and Margaret noticed she was more unsteady on dry land than before. She had trouble stepping up curbs, rising from low chairs, even climbing the bus. "But I've been exercising," she thought. "Why am I getting weaker?" Here's the truth no one told her. Some low-impact workouts are too low demand to create real strength. In water, your body is buoyant. That means your muscles don't have to fight gravity. They don't have to stabilize you. They don't have to hold your full weight. That's why it feels so easy, and that's why it can be deceiving. For older adults, water workouts can offer relief, yes, but they can also teach your muscles to relax when they should be learning to resist. When every movement is cushioned by water, your legs aren't reminded how to stay firm. Your hips don't practice stability. Your feet don't grip the ground. So when you step out of the pool, your body hasn't trained for real life. It's been floating. This doesn't mean water exercise is bad, but it must be balanced. If your only form of activity is in the pool, you may feel fit, but functionally, you're drifting further from real-world strength. And that's where the risk grows. The scary part? Most people don't notice until a small moment becomes a crisis. One step onto a wet tile, one missed stare, one slow fall that the body doesn't know how to stop. And suddenly, weeks of healthy activity seem meaningless. That's the hidden danger of low-impact routines done in isolation. They can make you feel accomplished, while making your muscles forget what they're really for. It's a painful irony. You try to be safe, you follow advice, and yet you feel more fragile over time, not less. And the worst part is, you don't understand why. Have you ever finished a workout and felt more fragile, not stronger? Tell me in the comments. I read every story. What Margaret needed wasn't just movement. She needed resistance. She needed training that reminded her legs how to hold her weight, how to shift it, how to recover when balance is lost. That doesn't always happen in water. But there's still time to rebuild, and often it starts by questioning what we've been told is safe. For many older adults, seated workouts seem like a gift. You don't have to worry about balance. There's no risk of falling. You feel active, included, even energized, all from the comfort of a chair. It feels like a clever shortcut, movement without danger. But there's something that chair is quietly stealing from you. Your core, the deep muscles around your spine and abdomen, doesn't just help you sit upright. It stabilizes your every move. It's what helps you rise from bed, reach a shelf, turn to catch yourself if you stumble. And when you exercise while seated day after day, that core begins to soften. It forgets. It gives up a little. Rosa, 76, followed a seated exercise video every morning. She moved her arms, lifted her knees, twisted side to side. But when she tried to lift herself off the toilet one afternoon, she froze. Her body wouldn't respond. Her arms trembled on the sink. Her legs shook. It took her 5 minutes to stand up, and that was the day she realized she wasn't as strong as she thought. Here's the trap. Seated workouts can help circulation, get the heart moving, and build light endurance. But they remove the single most critical element for aging strength, weight-bearing engagement. When your body doesn't learn how to manage its own weight, it begins to surrender it, slowly, quietly. And this is not about aesthetics. This is about independence. What happens when your body no longer knows how to lift itself? You avoid soft couches. You dread public restrooms. You lose confidence in your own movements, and that fear shrinks your world. There's also a deeper emotional cost. Losing core strength doesn't just make you physically vulnerable. It eats away at your sense of control. Suddenly, everyday tasks feel like tests. You hesitate before bending. You second-guess getting down to play with your grandchild. And you tell yourself, maybe this is just aging, but it's not just aging. It's inactivity disguised as exercise. And the most frustrating part? You were trying. You were showing up. You were moving. But the chair never challenged you to stand, to shift, to hold yourself up. It comforted you while your strength quietly left the room. That doesn't mean you failed. It means no one told you the full truth. Seated workouts can be a stepping stone, but they should never be the finish line. Because the moment you reclaim even a little of your body's ability to lift, to steady, to rise, is the moment you start walking back toward freedom. It's one of the first questions people ask when they start trying to lose weight. How many calories does this burn? And it makes sense. For decades, that's how health was measured. Sweat meant progress, soreness meant results, and movement that left you gasping was movement that worked. But after 65, the body tells a different story. And if you don't listen, the consequences can be lasting. Gerald, 69, was determined to shed 20 pounds. Every morning, he followed a video promising fat-burning moves for seniors. Fast-paced, upbeat music, dozens of leg lifts, arm swings, standing marches, all designed to get the heart rate up. At first, he felt proud, exhausted, but proud. Then came the inflammation. His left shoulder began to ache. His knees stiffened at night. Getting out of bed felt harder, not easier. And still, he kept going because he thought the pain meant it was working. But what Gerald didn't know was this. The body past 65 doesn't respond to exercise the same way it did at 40. Muscle tissue recovers slower. Joints carry a lifetime of wear. And when you repeat high-rep, low-resistance movements every day, with no focus on control, alignment, or recovery, you're not building strength. You're building strain. There's a cruel irony here. The more you push, the more your body holds on to fat. Why? Because excessive or unbalanced movement spikes cortisol, the stress hormone. And cortisol tells your body to store fat, not release it. Your system starts to protect itself from what it perceives as a threat. And in the process, your joints absorb damage while your weight plateaus. You feel like you're doing something wrong, that you're not pushing hard enough, that you need to do more. But the truth is, your body isn't lazy. It's overwhelmed. This is the silent punishment of the calorie-obsessed mindset. It teaches you to ignore discomfort, to treat fatigue as virtue, to chase numbers instead of nourishment. And for older adults, that mindset is dangerous. It's not about burning, it's about building. Building strength, building support, building resilience that lasts into your 70s, 80s, and beyond. Weight loss, when it happens, should be a result of that process, not the sole focus. Gerald eventually stopped those routines. He shifted to slower, strength-based movement. He learned to feel the difference between effort and strain, and slowly, his weight began to drop. Not because he burned more, but because his body trusted him again. There's still time to rebuild trust with your own body, but it starts with letting go of what used to work and listening to what your body actually needs now. Janice had lost the first 10 pounds easily. She had cut sugar, started moving more, and was seeing changes in her clothes and face. But then, everything stopped. Weeks went by. Same meals, same walks, same discipline, but not a single pound lost. She was confused, frustrated, and worst of all, ashamed. She thought maybe her metabolism was broken. Maybe she wasn't trying hard enough. Maybe this was just what happened after 65. But what no one had told her is this. Sometimes your body isn't stuck, it's scared. When you drastically change your routine, cut calories, and increase activity all at once, your body perceives danger. It doesn't see weight loss. It sees stress. And after a certain age, the stress response hits harder. The hormone cortisol, which rises during stress, tells the body to hold on to fat, especially around the belly. Why? Because fat is protective. In survival terms, your body believes it's preparing for famine, for injury, for the unknown. And instead of helping you shed weight, it tightens its grip. The more Janice pushed, the more tired she became. The more tired she became, the more inconsistent her sleep. And poor sleep only added more cortisol, more cravings, less energy, less muscle repair. The cycle was invisible, but relentless. This is why so many older adults hit a wall after a few weeks of progress. Not because they're doing something wrong, but because they're not doing what their body actually needs. What your body needs now is reassurance. It needs signals of safety. That means gentler, strength-based movement that rebuilds muscle without exhausting joints. Enough nourishment to fuel recovery, not just calorie deficit. Moments of calm, real calm, to tell your nervous system that it's okay to let go. Because here's the secret. A body that feels safe will release fat more easily than a body that feels under threat. Janice didn't need to double her walks. She needed to rest more deeply. She needed to eat with intention, not restriction. She needed to understand that weight loss past 65 is less about pushing harder and more about creating harmony inside her body. And when she finally made those changes, when she chose trust over punishment, the weight started to shift again. So if you've hit a wall, if your progress has paused, ask yourself, am I listening to my body or fighting it? Because sometimes, what feels like failure is actually your body trying to keep you safe. And that's not weakness, that's wisdom. You've probably heard it 100 times. Stay active. Move every day. Keep your joints mobile. And most advice will offer light walking, gentle stretching, or even dancing in place, all framed as safe, accessible ways to stay fit in later life. But there's one critical piece almost no one talks about. A word so basic, we forget it even matters. Gravity. It's not just something we live under. It's something your body is constantly negotiating with, and when that negotiation weakens, so does your ability to stand, walk, or even sit safely. Lena, 74, was active in all the usual ways. She did her water aerobics, walked the same flat path in her neighborhood, and used light resistance bands while seated. But her legs still felt unsteady. Her back ached after simple chores. And more than once, she caught herself grabbing furniture to stay upright. Her doctor said, "You need to work against gravity again." She didn't understand at first. Wasn't she already moving? But here's the thing. Most popular senior routines remove the very thing that keeps muscles strong, the need to bear your own weight. When exercises happen seated or supported by water or cushioned by too many props, your muscles forget how to engage under the pressure of real life. Climbing stairs, standing up from the ground, reaching for something overhead. These aren't just movements, they're moments of resistance. Your body must activate deep, stabilizing muscles to fight gravity and maintain control. And when you don't practice that, you lose it. Lena had never done a squat in her life. The word sounded intimidating, but once she understood that standing from a chair was a squat and that training that motion could save her from a fall, everything changed. She began practicing small, controlled rises from a bench. No weights, no machines, just her own body, just gravity. And within weeks, she noticed a shift, not just in her legs, but in her confidence. This is what most senior fitness advice misses, that real strength isn't about how much you move, it's about what kind of load your muscles are carrying. And after 65, if you're not deliberately working against gravity, you're silently surrendering to it. So before you choose your next workout, ask yourself, does this movement prepare me for the real world? Will it help me get up, reach out, steady myself when I stumble? Because weight loss is not just about getting smaller, it's about becoming capable again. And gravity, quiet, constant gravity, might be your best trainer yet. Elaine, 70, was thrilled when she stepped on the scale and saw she'd lost 8 pounds in just 3 weeks. She'd been eating less, walking more, and following every rule she could find. Friends complimented her. Her doctor nodded politely. But deep inside, something felt off. She was tired, not sleepy, drained. Her legs felt hollow. Her lower back ached when she stood too long. And one morning, while stepping out of the shower, she lost her balance. Just slightly, but enough to scare her. The weight she lost wasn't just fat. It was part muscle and part bone. Most people think of fat loss as purely positive. But after 65, rapid weight loss often comes at a steep price. Bone density and lean muscle mass decline together unless you fight to preserve them. And most seniors aren't taught how. The body is efficient. When you reduce calories and increase activity, it begins breaking down tissue, not just fat, but anything it sees as excess. And unless your muscles are actively resisting pressure, they'll shrink. And when muscles shrink, your bones stop getting the signals to stay dense and strong. That's how osteoporosis creeps in. Not as an overnight diagnosis, but as tiny losses that build over time, hidden behind the celebration of weight loss. Elaine didn't know this. No one warned her that the number on the scale could drop even while her foundation was weakening. That losing weight didn't mean gaining health. That the smaller version of herself might also be more fragile. This is the paradox of weight loss in older age. It must be targeted. You want to lose fat, yes, but only if you're protecting what holds you up, your muscles, your bones, your balance. And that doesn't happen through dieting alone. That happens through movement that resists, lifting your body, holding a squat, rising from the floor, pressing gently against weight. It happens through meals that nourish, not just restrict, with enough protein, minerals, and rest to rebuild what time has chipped away. Elaine eventually gained back 3 of those pounds. But this time, they came with strength. She could stand longer. Her legs felt planted, her spine steadier. And when her grandson asked her to dance in the living room, she didn't hesitate. The goal is not to weigh less. The goal is to live more. And if the path to a smaller body makes your world feel smaller, weaker, or more fearful, it may not be the right path. Your bones are silent, but they carry your entire life. Don't trade their strength for a smaller number. Trade it for movement, confidence, and the power to say yes when life invites you to move. Thomas was a disciplined man. At 73, he walked every morning without fail. Rain or shine, he made his rounds through the park, waved at the same bench sitters, and returned home with a quiet sense of accomplishment. He wasn't trying to break records. He just wanted to stay healthy, stay mobile, and maybe lose a bit of the belly that had crept in. Then one morning, something gave out. He stepped off a curb and felt his leg wobble. His foot didn't plant firmly. His knee buckled. And before he could react, he was on the ground. No warning. No pain beforehand. Just a body that didn't respond the way he thought it would. It wasn't a stroke. It wasn't a heart issue. It was muscular instability, hidden behind the illusion of activity. Walking, especially on even ground, can create a sense of strength. But without variation, resistance, or engagement of key stabilizing muscles, it becomes repetitive motion without true support. The hips aren't challenged, the glutes don't fire, the core doesn't brace, and when the terrain changes, even slightly, the body lacks the practice to adjust. That's what happened to Thomas. He had been active, yes, but not adaptive. His muscles had not been tested under shifting pressure. His reflexes had not been trained for imbalance. And so, the first unexpected step became the last step of his routine for weeks. This is how fitness routines can betray us. They feel safe, predictable. But life isn't predictable. Sidewalks crack. Dogs dart across paths. Buses pull up. Grandchildren run toward you. The body needs to be ready. Not just moving, but prepared to move differently at any moment. Thomas's fall wasn't the end. After recovery, he began a different kind of training. Slow, strength-based, often awkward at first. He focused on standing from a chair without using his hands, on stepping side to side, on holding balance with eyes closed. Movements that felt too simple, but were far more honest. The truth is, many older adults are doing everything right and still getting hurt. Not because they're weak, but because they've been taught to chase activity, not resilience. And here's the painful irony. That fall shook more than Thomas's body. It shook his identity. The confident man who walked every day now hesitated to leave the house. He questioned his body, his age, his future. But slowly, with the right focus, he built back more than strength. He built back trust in his legs, in his balance, in his ability to respond, not just repeat. Which of these signs caught you by surprise? Share in the comments. Someone else might be living the same thing and feel less alone reading your story. After months of confusion, trial, and quiet frustration, Marion found herself at a crossroads. At 71, she'd tried every safe exercise she could find online. Walking, seated routines, light aerobics. She'd watched the scale dip slightly only to rise again. But more than that, she felt unsteady, as though something inside her had gone soft, and no amount of movement was bringing it back. Then a physical therapist asked her a simple question. "Can you stand up from the floor without using your hands?" She laughed, and then realized she couldn't. That moment changed everything. Because the truth is, the best weight loss routine after 65 isn't about speed, repetition, or calorie burn. It's about restoring function, the kind that lets you move through your home with ease, bend down safely, reach overhead, get up from the ground, not just once, but every time you need to. This kind of strength doesn't come from treadmills. It doesn't live in pool noodles or fast-paced routines. It comes from simple, intentional movement. Standing from chairs without momentum, holding yourself in a squat, even for a few seconds, stepping sideways while keeping your balance, pressing your body upward, slowly, firmly, against the force of gravity. And here's the magic. When you move this way, your body starts to release fat naturally, not because it's panicking, not because it's being punished, but because it senses safety, strength, stability. Marion started with just 7 minutes a day, no equipment, just slow, focused movements that reminded her muscles what they were built for. She didn't even break a sweat most days. But within weeks, her hips felt more secure, her steps more planted. And yes, the scale began to shift again. But the biggest change wasn't visible. It was in her sense of power, of coming back to herself. Weight loss, when done right after 65, is never just about shrinking. It's about expanding your freedom, walking without fear, playing with your grandchildren on the floor, and knowing you can get back up. If you felt stuck, discouraged, or uncertain about your next step, begin here. Not with punishment, but with presence. Not with a goal to be smaller, but with a goal to be stronger, safer, more yourself again. Because it's not too late. It never was. What did you recognize in yourself today? Which part of this journey felt familiar? Share it in the comments. Someone else might need your story to begin their own.